Ladies and gentlemen, here we go into our game number 1 between Hasuobs and Moman. We're starting out on Antiga Shipyard, and I cannot wait for this to go down, Turtle Biscuit.
Yes, it's going to be a good one, no doubt about that. I've got to say, I'm going to put my money in for Hasuobs, who is incredibly good at what he does, and sometimes he's overshadowed by the performances of his fellow countryman Soke, but seriously, Hasuobs is an absolute monster, as we've seen throughout this tournament. You
know, it's so cool. Both of those players coming from the German scene, Hasuobs and Soke, of course, I'm talking about, and they have such unique styles, very, very different styles. And Hasuobs, both of these players are being so successful with them. So I can't wait. Hasuobs is definitely more of the passive standard player. You know, we see him just maxing out to 200 before he attacks at all. And that's what I figured that we will see in this game, because Hasuobs just loves that army composition. Get that ultimate army composition. Get those Colossus, the High Templars, the Archons, basically everything you possibly can, and then a win against your opponent. We'll see what he does in this game against Moman.
Yes, we will. And ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Mouse Sports' very own Hasuobs. He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the west of the Antiga Shipyard versus his opponent, the one and only Moman from Team Virus. He is in the blue trunks, and he is playing Zerg to the east. And I've got a funny story, or not so much a funny story, but an interesting story about Moman that perhaps some people do not know.
All right, go for it.
So he used to play for Cybernation, as you're probably aware. He used to play for Millennium, and then he went and played for Cybernation, and now he's playing for Virus. And when he's playing for Cybernation, he complained that his wages were too high in comparison to his performance.
What? All right. Well,
seriously,
that's interesting. Definitely. Moman, I guess, is he has a lot of honor to him, I suppose. And I know another person like that, actually. Nightend. Nightend says he refuses to take that same type of same type of salary until he has just amazing performances. And you know, a lot of these players, I mean, they're not in it for the money, really. They're in it for the passion. Moman is definitely one of those players that just wants and loves the game so much that he's willing to do things like that. Really, really cool, just nobility coming out from these players.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by Moman being a person like that, honestly. Those who know things about Moman would also know that he was really good at tennis. He was really good at judo. He was really good at handball. He's incredibly competitive. He actually still plays Counter-Strike, as it happens.
Wow, I didn't know those things about him. I actually want to play him in tennis and judo now. But, oh no, this first drone. Yeah, it's going to go down to the probe, unfortunately.
Stabby, stabby.
And the probe does get out of there with only 5 hit points left. It looks like, I don't know, Moman was just a little bit occupied with this first drone over here that wanted to put down a hatchery in Hasuobs' main, or his natural, rather.
I was going to say, that's an interesting start, and that's one way, I suppose, of getting around a Forge Fast Expand, but Hasuobs is not going to allow that to happen. Now, that is actually pretty cute. I like that move. I would like to see Zerg doing more of that, possibly just a hatchery cancellation in order to delay the Fast Expand after the Forge. Pretty cute.
You know what? You can actually make a hatchery and then cancel and then make an evolution chamber. And all of a sudden you have this huge HP thing that you can't really kill unless a forge is in range. And I don't know if that forge, or not the forge, the photon cannon. That photon cannon, I do not think it is in range to kill something like an evolution chamber. That would have been an awesome, awesome advantage that Moman would have gotten if he got that down. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that would be really, really nice. I remember the early days of the beta, actually, when the double proxy evolution chamber trick was put into play. Those things actually explode because they lose health since they're off creep, and then they explode and spawn broodlings, and if you time an attack just right with that, you can actually overrun someone's ramp. But I haven't seen an awful lot of that in competitive play, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully it gets a reprise pretty soon. That would be absolutely awesome. But somehow, I don't know if that's... I don't think that's going to happen, Total Biscuit. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think so. It's a little bit impractical. And we can go on to talk a little bit about Hasuobs here, I suppose. You were right when you were saying that he doesn't really like to attack for 200. And when it comes to army composition, Hasuobs is kind of the king. He was known a little while ago for being the guy that mixed in Dark Templar into a big death ball. And that was quite a neat trick, honestly. He's very flexible with his DT play. But he's obviously had to widen what he's been able to do over the past few months because people have got wise to that.
Yeah, and Moman, on the other hand, he is the wild card. Nobody knows what he's going to do. And look at this, he's actually going for a macro game. Now, Moman, we've seen in a lot of the previous series, he's been cheesing a lot, and they haven't been successful. Whereas when he plays a macro game, when he plays a standard, he's actually gotten very great results. I like where this is going. Of course, this is a very standard response to something that Hasuobs is doing, getting that third hatchery out. But as we said in the pre-show before, this is not a map where you can go higher than 3 bases that easily. So what does Moman do? Where is his transition? I would love something super mobile, like let's say Mutalisks to come out, and for him to just overwhelm his opponent by base trading and taking so many expansions that you just cannot keep up with those Mutalisks.
It's not a bad way to play Zerg, honestly, when it comes to trying to overwhelm people. Zerg are particularly good at that strategy. We've got Hasuobs now rolling out with 4 Zealots, and a little bit of pressure will assuredly be applied. I think Hasuobs actually got a little bit paranoid there. I saw the Automaton 2000 wandering past, and I think he thought it was a Zergling. He went for it for a second, then decided, no, we don't need to kill that robot. It's no real threat. And he's going to go the long way around, try and avoid the visibility of... This is actually quite clever. He's sending in 1 Zealot onto that Solnaga Watchtower to deny it, while his main force flanks around the side here, so he should stay out of visibility. That said, that Overlord is going to spot this coming past. Not going to have a huge amount of time to respond to this, but he's got enough Zerglings on the field, so I'm not too worried for Moman yet.
Well, the +1 has finished, so those Zealots are super strong. We can see that these Zealots just tear through these Zerglings so fast. Not even 1 Zealot goes down. He's going to go directly up into that natural, but Roaches are out. Those are great counters to Zealots, man.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that Moman went for that 1 without the speed and 2 off creep. Didn't really make a huge amount of sense. I would have personally held back and waited. Maybe he didn't think that his opponent had the +1. That's a possibility. Whatever the case, now going to deal with this. Shouldn't have a problem with the Roaches up, though. And still, however, you've got to give it to Hasuobs. He has managed to deny some mining. The question is, was it worth the cost?
Well, this is a couple things that Hasuobs just did with this particular attack. What he's trying to do is figure out the tech in which Moman is doing. This is a lot of pressure in case Moman is doing something super greedy, like getting too many drones. But I like what's gone on behind us. He's gone straight to a robotics facility, and this seems very risky at first. You're saying to yourself, oh, it can die to something like, not all in pressure, something like a very, very macro abusive style, or something like Mutas. But Hasuobs went with that early 4, 5, 6 Zealots, and he's able to get a good scout, force his opponent to do a very particular unit composition. Now all of a sudden, he's made his robotics facility very, very safe, and he can go on from here playing standard.
Yep, smart play as well to throw an Immortal into the mix right there. He knows as to Moman's style, which has a tendency to be roach heavy, I have to say. There's the +1 ground carapace coming up right there, and the lair. We'll see whether or not he does decide to go for that air play, and he will have to if Colossus start to come out. Roaches will not be good enough at all. Lots of drones coming out in the background right here for Moman. He's feeling pretty safe, and he does have a small economic lead over his opponent. But these Colossi are a bit of a problem. Now the lair's up. Let's see if he decides to go Spire.
Yeah, one thing I do have to mention, though, that I'm kind of displeased with Moman about is the creep spread. The creep spread is very minimal at this point. It's already 11 minutes since the game, and he does not even have his bases connected. That's a big, big problem when it gets down to the later games, because this basically says Moman is not doing anything of expanding. I mean, it's a huge tell. You just cannot connect your bases in time to get your 4th base, so you can go back and forth, back and forth. So Moman has, because he doesn't have creep spread, it's basically saying, I'm going to do a 3-base timing push, which is okay, but Hasuobs will see this, will notice it, and say, okay, all I have to do is defend very, very hard at this stage, and I won't have any problems. I can win with just superior army composition at this in-game stage.
Yeah, and I've got problems with Moman's army composition as it happens, because he's going Roach Hydra, which is not all that effective against the big Protoss Death Ball.
Oh, no.
So this is concerning, I have to say, and Hasuobs also grabbing his 3rd, and like you said, no sign of expansion from Moman just yet. I don't like it. I don't like it, Retop. I don't. It's
either,
dangerous. Man. It's a messy army comp. And
if we look at the vision from Moman, he hasn't even scouted some sort of robo or robotics bay, and that's a big problem. A lot of times you go in there with an overseer, check out what's going on, even a regular overlord, I don't care, go in there though and find out what's going on. But at this point, Moman hasn't done that, and it's really costing him. We can see the first scout is coming out, and it's a changeling, and that's going to be killed very fast.
Yeah, and I don't think that was actually spotted. Looking at it, I'm pretty sure that Colossus and the ball was not spotted there. And this is about to run into a wall of pain. A couple of Immortals in the mix as well. Oh, very nice force fields right there. Where are those tunneling claws? He doesn't have them. And down goes a fairly significant number of roaches with no losses right there for Hasuobs whatsoever.
Yeah, and not even burrow up actually for Moman. So Moman is doing a lot of cardinal sins in this first game. We can see that Hasuobs just feels confident right now. He's ready to put on the pressure. And this is going to be just a 3-base timing. He is behind in a little bit of supply. Let's see if this works.
Yeah, he's quite significantly behind. In fact, about 30 army supply, but Moman doesn't really have the means in order to deal with this. So you've got quite a lot of sentries there, quite a lot of energy available, and as you pointed out, no burrow, no tunneling claws. Moman's just going to try and hold on for as long as he can, wait for 40 more roaches, and overwhelm the sheer weight of numbers. And the Colossus count is not all that high, and this is a fairly small death ball, so there is the possibility that this might work. However, reinforcing via that ramp is not going to be possible, and now you just see the problems with that lack of creep spread, because he can't go around the side in time. In fact, looks like he's decided to counter push.
Yeah, and this is the only option that he has, unfortunately, because he allowed a Hasuobs to get up into this position, and it all has to do with that creep spread, the delayed creep spread. We can see all the way back in Hasuobs base. Is he prepared for this? It looks like one Colossus is out. I would love him to get some sentries just to force field that ramp for now. We'll see if it's enough.
Yeah, and unfortunately all the gateways on cooldown, so that makes things a little bit difficult. Moman trying to breach that, needs to get through there as quickly as possible. He does have a fairly large army, but of course he is bleeding it quite badly. Having lost that third, reinforcing will be a little tricky, and of course it's a long run as well. Wants to try and take out the tech. Roach is focusing down the robotics facility, and down it goes. The bay will perhaps surely follow, and indeed he's actually not focusing the robotics facility. It should have died there, but he's splitting all of his fire all over the place, and Moman with a very nice position right there, able to fire down the stalkers. They come in. The problem is I don't think he's got the numbers, as Hasuobs is now backed off a mass blink right there and cleaning house, making sure to get rid of as many of these units as he can. Now, I've seen a lot of tech damage right here from Moman, but I don't think it's going to be enough, because that army is getting slaughtered at this point.
Yep, you can see Moman's supply is actually at 157, and Hasuobs is just underneath that, and that's not a position you ever want to be. It looks like Hasuobs will have a huge retention in his army. The third is under attack now. Moman might be able to deny this, but he still has nothing to deal with those Colossus. He needs that Spire Tech up ASAP. There's no way to deal with this mass army.
Yep, and there's the big aggressive blink right there from Hasuobs, able to rip through the Roach Force, and it looks like that third will go down. Moman takes it, but that is a lot invested in just taking out that one base, and the tech damage, very nice, I've got to say. I mean, that's put Hasuobs pretty much on gateway units alone right now. But I'm not entirely convinced that the investment was worthwhile. No,
I don't think so at all. Sacrificing so many roaches for just a 400 mineral nexus. I mean, I understand that he wants to reduce that income, but he still has all the gateways, and he still has all those, or excuse me, the big problem is going to be the army that he has to worry about, and the reinforcements. Units lost tab, look at that. Hasuobs is so cost efficient with this army, and now he's going to poke up into this main. It looks like blinking up some stalkers. Will he blink up the rest of them? Yes, he does. He's going to catch his opponent way out of position.
Yep, down goes the Roach Warren, and that's like cutting off Moman's right arm, as you've probably seen throughout this tournament. He loves his Roaches. Roaches getting into the Death Ball, doing some damage. The Immortal will finally fall after 17 kills. I would say that that's a cost-effective Immortal. No real doubt about that. And a quick blink, and those Corruptors aren't even going to get any real damage on those Colossi whatsoever, and that army has been annihilated. There's only 19 army supply on the field right now. Hasuobs can just go in and win at this point. Lots of Zerglings coming out. Certainly not going to be enough, I don't feel, to deal with this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think Moman, somewhere along the lines, yes, he did, in the main, lost his Roach at Warren. That's why he's only pumping out Zerglings. He has nothing else to actually pump out. He doesn't have a Hydralisk Den either. So this is such a bad position. Oh, yes, he does. Excuse me. He does have the Hydra Den. But, you know, Moman, he lost his third. He's trying to get his fourth, but it is scouted. It has a pylon right next to it, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But, you know, Moman at this position, he's just dead in the water, in my opinion.
Yeah, funnily enough, the pylon hasn't scouted it yet. It will see the creep spread in a few seconds' time, but he doesn't know it's there. That said, it doesn't really make all that much of a difference at this point. GG.
And that's going to do it for game number 1 between Hasuobs and Moman. Hasuobs just cleaning house that first game. There was a little bit of, I guess, a tough situation where Moman went for the counterattack, but I felt like Hasuobs had a great handle on that the entire game.
Yeah, that was the thing, really. He went for this counter push, and it wasn't exactly what I'd call a fast one. I mean, we're talking about Roaches and Hydralisks. Not quick, especially without any creep spread whatsoever, so they didn't even get a head start. And going for that big base trade, which may have made sense if Hasuobs hadn't just pulled back and dealt with it. And losing the tech was certainly bad for Hasuobs, but we looked at that units lost, and we saw how much. At that point, there was about 4,500 resources extra lost or so by Moman, and the investment simply wasn't worth it, because if he wasn't able to take out the gateways, he eliminated the possibility of more Colossus and Immortals and things like that. But simple gateway unit composition with the Colossus remaining alive and those Immortals remaining in the mix until the last minute, it was enough. And Hasuobs simply outplayed Moman.
Yeah, and I really feel like it just comes down to that creep spread as well. I mean, you said it best last game, that creep spread is just a huge deterrent for your opponent to actually approach you. Once that creep is there, it's like, oh, I have to kill the creep, and then I have to wait because I don't want to really attack there. Moman had such a delayed creep spread. I think that was the #1 thing that hurt him going into that first initial battle, which forced that bad position where he's like, well, I can't defend my third, let's go counterattack, try to do something. And Moman did kill his opponent's third, but just as you said, the sheer cost efficiency of Hasuobs was too much for Moman, and Hasuobs takes game 1 very, very clean, I think, to be honest. We're going to go into game number 2 on Terminus to see if Moman can come back in this. Join us. We'll be back after this break.